Hello, you're live with Vaughan Jones on BBC World News. Our top stories. Pipeline politics. The gas crisis intensifies in Europe's poorest state as Moscow threatens to turn off the taps.
Russia is trying to punish Moldovan citizens because they decided to vote against a pro-Russian party at the parliamentary elections. So it's pure politics.
Brazilian senators say President Bolsonaro should be charged with crimes against humanity for his mishandling of the COVID pandemic. Growing opposition to the military coup in Sudan. Now 2 trade unions join the campaign of civil disobedience. A new law has just been passed in Hong Kong, banning any film deemed contrary to China's national security. And in the next half an hour, we'll be live in Nairobi and Hong Kong and hear from a human rights expert about Poland's proposals to build a wall along the Belarusian border. Hello, welcome to the programme. First up is Russia using its abundant supply of natural gas as a political weapon. It's a question that's been asked many times in Europe, and it's being asked again now after Russia's state-owned Gazprom reduced gas supplies to Moldova, poorest country in Europe, and threatened to suspend them completely. Right, you are live with Vaughan Jones. Still to come, soaring skyscrapers and temperatures. We find out how people in Kuwait are learning to live with extreme heat. Hello, welcome back. You are live with Vaughan Jones. Next, senators in Poland are debating a government plan to build a $400 million wall along part of its border with Belarus to stop migrants trying to enter illegally. Right, that's it from me. Get me on social media at Vaughan Jones. I'm Vaughan Jones. This is BBC News. You're live with Vaughan Jones on BBC World News. Pipeline politics. The gas crisis intensifies in Europe's poorest state as Moscow threatens to turn off the taps.
Russia is trying to punish Moldovan citizens because they decided to vote against a pro-Russian party at the parliamentary elections. So it's pure politics.
Brazilian senators say President Bolsonaro should be charged with crimes against humanity for mishandling the COVID pandemic. Growing opposition to the military coup in Sudan. Now 2 trade unions join the campaign of civil disobedience. Britain's finance minister is shortly to set out the government's financial plans for the next year amid concerns about the rising cost of living. And one of China's biggest telecoms companies is banned from operating in the US as Washington cites national security concerns. In the programme, we'll be live in Sao Paulo, Westminster and Hong Kong. Hello, welcome to the programme. First, is Russia using energy as a political weapon? It's a question that's been asked many times in Europe, and it's being asked again right now. Why? Well, Russia's state-owned gas company Gazprom reduced gas supplies to Moldova and threatened to suspend them completely. Thanks to Anne for that update. You are live with Vaughan Jones. Still to come. One of China's biggest telecoms company is banned from operating in the US as Washington cites national security concerns. And we'll be live in Westminster as Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, or Finance Minister, sets out the government's financial plans amid concerns about the rising cost of living. Welcome back. You're live with Lewis Vaughan Jones. I want to take you live to Westminster here in the UK. The British Finance Minister, Rishi Sunak, is about to set out his spending plans for the UK and a budget which the government says will prepare the country for a post-COVID economy. These live pictures we're seeing at the moment, this is actually Prime Minister's questions, getting underway just a little bit before we hear from the Chancellor, the Finance Minister. And one quick bit of news to bring you is that the Labour leader, the opposition leader. Right, that's it from me. I am Lewis Vaughan Jones. This is BBC News. Bye-bye. You're live with Lewis Vaughan Jones on BBC World News. Pipeline politics. The gas crisis intensifies in Europe's poorest state as Moscow threatens to turn off the taps. Brazilian senators say President Bolsonaro should be charged with crimes against humanity for his mishandling of the COVID pandemic. Still searching for the origins of COVID-19, the World Health Organization is to confirm the makeup of a new advisory group. And going to the movies in Hong Kong won't be the same amid new powers to ban films deemed to violate China's interests. In the next half hour, we'll be live in Sao Paulo and Hong Kong. Hello, welcome to the programme. First up, Moldovan officials are due to hold a fresh round of negotiations with Russia's state energy giant Gazprom today amid a gas crisis in the country. Now, Moldova, which relies heavily on Russian gas, declared a state of emergency last week after failing to agree a new deal with Russia. Right, stay with us here on BBC World News, still to come. The new musical celebrating the life and songs of the late reggae superstar Bob Marley. Welcome back. You're live with Lewis Vaughan Jones. Now, Bob Marley's life may have been cut short, but it was extraordinary. From growing up on the streets of Kingston to international stardom. Years in the making, his story has been staged for the very first time. Emma North went to meet the people behind it. BBC's Emma North getting to listen to those brilliant songs there. OK, quick reminder of our breaking news, one of our bits of breaking news this hour. That's the European Court of Justice has ordered Poland to pay a daily fine of €1 million for its failure to suspend the activities of a controversial Supreme Court disciplinary chamber that critics say is being used to punish judges who oppose the government's changes to the judiciary. So that's the first bit of breaking news that we've been having. The second bit of breaking news we've been having this hour is regarding Sudan military takeover there, of course, and the response now from the African Union, which has suspended Sudan's participation in all activities until the restoration of the civilian-led authority. It says that coming from Reuters there. Right, that's it from me. I'm Lewis Vaughan Jones. This is BBC News. Bye-bye.
You're live with me, Samantha Simmonds. Alarming results from a new climate study. Logging and wildfires could be causing some of the world's biggest forests to emit more carbon into the atmosphere than they absorb. It comes as a new poll commissioned by the BBC shows increasing public support around the world for governments to take strong action on climate change. New lockdowns and a week off work in parts of Russia as it registers a record number of COVID deaths and infections. And we'll be looking at the escalating row between Britain and France over post-Brexit fishing rights. In the next half hour, we will be live in Moscow and have more from London's River Thames on a new polar research ship which is preparing for its first expedition. A new study shows some of the world's most highly protected forests are emitting more carbon than they absorb as a result of illegal logging and wildfires. At least 10 forests designated UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including Yosemite National Park in the United States, have been net carbon emitters over the past 20 years. Schofield in Paris there. You're live with me, Samantha Simmonds. Still to come. And is there something we should know? Duran Duran prove they're still wild boys, at heart at least, after all these years. And we'll be going to London's River Thames, where Britain's new polar research ship is getting ready for its first expedition. You're live with me, Samantha Simmonds. To Italy now, and the island of Sicily is being battered by a rare cyclonic storm known as a medicane. Torrential rain has caused widespread flooding around the city of Catania. At least 2 people have been killed. Sophia Tran-Thompson reports. That is it for me for the moment. You can reach me on social media. I'm at Samantha TV News. I'll be back shortly with the headlines though, so do stay tuned, and Aaron will be here with all the day's top business stories. Bye for now. You're live with Samantha Simmonds on BBC World News. Russia's growing COVID emergency. Moscow enters a partial lockdown as the country experiences more than 1,100 deaths in one day.
The hospital is completely full. About 10% of patients are discharged every day, and an equal number admitted to hospital on the same day. There are many more patients than in the previous coronavirus wave.
Meanwhile, in Romania, political infighting hampers the struggle against soaring infections. We have a special report. Illegal logging and wildfires is making some of the world's most highly protected forests emit more carbon than they absorb, a new study has found. And using high tech to determine the scene of gun crime, but can it lead to miscarriages of justice? In the programme, we will be live in Moscow, Nairobi, and we'll be hearing from 80s pop legends Duran Duran. Russia has reported yet another record daily rise in coronavirus cases and deaths. The twin records come as Europe's hardest hit country is struggling with low vaccination rates despite developing its own jabs. Only a third of the Russian population is fully vaccinated. You're live with Samantha Simmonds. Still to come. There's growing popular support for governments to take tough action on climate change. We'll have all the details of a new poll. And we'll be hearing how high tech is being used to pinpoint gun crime, but can it sometimes lead to miscarriages of justice? You're live with Samantha Simmonds. People around the world want their governments to take strong action on climate change. Those are the findings of a new poll commissioned by the BBC ahead of Sunday's COP26 International Climate Summit. And you can see James's full report from California on Art World this weekend on BBC World News. That's from me for the moment. You can reach me on Twitter at Samantha TV News. I'll be back shortly though. Stay watching. Bye for now. You're live with Samantha Simmonds on BBC World News. Russia's growing COVID emergency. Moscow enters a partial lockdown as the country experiences more than 1,100 deaths in one day. There's growing popular support for governments around the world to take tough action on climate change. We'll have all the details of a new poll. The Italian island of Sicily is clearing up after devastating floods that have killed at least 2 people. And is there something we should know? Duran Duran prove they're still wild boys after all these years. In the next half hour, we'll be live in Nairobi and we'll have the latest from Moscow. Russia has reported 1,100 COVID deaths in the past 24 hours. That's an all-time high for the country. And for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, new infections have surpassed 40,000. It comes as Moscow reimposes partial lockdown measures to try to curb the spread of the disease. Stay with us here on BBC World News, still to come. The return of the Wild Boys, 80s supergroup Duran Duran are back in the charts and they're going head-to-head with another veteran to hit the top spots. You're live with Samantha Simmonds. Now, in the quest to push the barriers of transport technology, we have had self-driving cars, self-driving lorries and self-driving buses. Now, in the Dutch city of Amsterdam, they're trying out self-driving boats, as Tim Allman reports. Classic Duran Duran there. That's it from me for now. You can reach me on Twitter though. I'm at Samantha TV News. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.